I need to know.
Today I'm gonna talk about how you voice the major seven chords, and just a simple technique you can use to voice the chord. As you know, we'll be in the key of C. We'll be in the key of C, and you know the major chords that are associated with the key of C is C major seven, D minor seven, E minor seven, F major seven, G7, A minor 7, B minor 7, flat 5, and back to C major 7. And the only difference with the, I'll explain too, is the 5. Reason why the 5 is not major like it would be if you was doing basic triads, three finger chords, is because when you're dealing with 7 chords, that 5 is it's a dominant chord, which is a G7. And all the G7 really do is push you back to the 1. So it's almost like a 2-5-1 that you hear in the song, and that G7 just kind of help you in the song. So like, say for instance, so that 5-1 just help you in the song. It push you back to that 1. It force you back to the 1. So that's why it's a G7, and it's dominant because it sets you up to go back to the 1. And most of your songs end in like a 2-5-1 or a 5-1. So that's why the G7 is it's called a dominant chord with the 7 chords. So as you know, hopefully you already have your you know how to do your inversions and things like that on your chords. It's pretty much the same way you do your major triad chords. I give you like 2 examples of how you can invert it, and then you can go from there and invert them in all the different, the D minor, E minor. You can go through and invert the rest of the chords. You have C major 7, which is C, E, G, B, and simply invert that by putting the C on top. It becomes E, G, B, C. Then you can invert it again by putting the E on top, and now it become G, B, C, E. And invert it again, put the G on top. It become B, C, E, G, and then back to the root position where you started, C, E, G, B. So it's the same way as you do the basic triads. You just keep moving it down till you go back to your root position. I do the D minor. D minor is D, F, A, C, which is root position. I'm gonna invert that to put the D on top. It becomes F, A, C, D. And put the F on top. It becomes A, C, D, F. And move it down, put the A on top. It becomes C, D, F, A. And then back to root position, D, F, A, C. And I'll do one more, and then the rest you can invert yourself. E minor 7, it'd be E, G, B, D. Put the E on top. It becomes G, B, D, E. Move it down, put the G on top. It becomes B, D, E, G. Move it back down, put the B on top. It becomes D, B, G, B, and then back to root position, E, G, B, D. And so it's the same concept, same format. It's just the more chords you have down, or the more fingers you use with chords, just kind of like the different, or the more ways you can invert the chord. So we have that, and you can simply invert the rest of the chords. It's the same concept. You can invert it. How you can go through and invert it. The key thing with that is I would suggest that till you get used to just knowing them right off the bat, it don't hurt to write all the chords down, the chords and the inversion, like C major 7, the root position of the C major 7, and all the inversions, and do it to all the chords till you can become familiar, until it becomes second nature to you. Because of course, like if you try to memorize, it's not gonna all come just like that. You have to kind of start seeing them in songs, and then referring to your paper that you have wrote down, and it kind of give you the idea of how the chords are formed. You'll get used to seeing them, then it just becomes second nature. And especially when you see them in songs, you'll be able to relate back, like, oh, okay, they did a D minor 7 in this song, they did that in that song. You kind of just know how to do it. One quick thing I want to do is called chord voicing, to make your playing sound a little more full. And all you have to do really is, since you have the major 7 chords, and as you know, I just do C major 7 for right now. I have C major 7, and in my left hand I have C, right hand I have C, E, G, B. Well, I have C twice, so really what I can do is take the C out my right hand because I already have C in my left hand, and it'll sound like this. It's still, I mean, you can tell the difference in the sound a little bit, but it just, what it do is now it give me more liberty to what I can do is I can voice it a different kind of way. And when I say voice it, since I don't have to worry about playing the C in the right hand because I already have it in my left hand, and I still got E, G, B held down because that's part of the C major 7 chord. What I can possibly do is maybe let me extend it out and just hit that E. Put extend it and just use the E. So now I have E, G, B, E. And let's see how that sounds. Notice that sound a little bit different. It's the same chord, just I don't voiced it different and gave it a little bit a different sound, a more fuller sound. Then now it sounds. So notice the little different in sound. It sound a little bit more full. And all I did was just, you can start out, there's a good way to do it to get used to it is you can start out by just taking the root out your right hand and just leaving the root in your left hand, and then just expanding the chord, which I did E, G, B, E. That's one way you can do it. Really, there's so many different voicings to really, you have to, it's almost like you use your own personal taste to what you want it to sound like. But it don't change the chord quality. It still be a C major 7. You just voiced it different. You can even be more creative and just say we'll take the G out of there, and I'll put the G in my right hand, and now the only thing I have left is E, B. In my right hand I have E, B, because I took the G out. But if I want that to sound a little more fuller, I'm going to just go and add that E again. Now I have E, B, E. And even that give it a different sound. So what you can kind of do is, that's why it's good to write it out. You write the chords out that you have, and then just try to move them around and play some different ways, like mix up the voicings to make it sound different, and to give it a different sound. As long as you still have the chords that's in the C major 7 chord, you can't go wrong. It's still going to be a C major 7. But always keep in mind, you don't change the root of the chord. If it's a C chord, C major 7 chord, always keep that C on your left hand, no matter what. Please don't never change, because once you change the bass, the chord change. So you stay true to the root of the chord. If it's a C major 7 chord, always keep that C on your left hand, and you can just voice it different kind of ways. You can do that same thing for a D minor chord. For all the chords, you can do the same thing, but just keep the root of the chord in your left hand. And when I say root, that means if I say give me a C major 7, then okay, C is the root of the chord. A D minor 7, D is the root of the chord. E, the same thing. Those are the root of the chord. And just stay true to the root, but you can voice it any kind of way. And I'll show you a voicing in the popular song, old traditional song, Thank You, Lord. And I'll show you why the voicings are important, and the different ways of the way I'm using the voicings. And it's still the same chord, but I'm just using the different voice to make it sound a little fat. So I'm basically taking an old traditional song and making it sound more full or whatever. So basically, that's it. So Sit tight, and I'll be back with part two. I just want to kind of give you that little information or breakdown on how you can, expand your chord voicing.